And I'm loving life with friends. Doing my life with friends. Doing my life with friends. Doing my life with friends. And I'm loving life with friends. Doing my life with friends. Doing my life with friends. Doing my life with friends. And I'm loving life with friends. Doing my life with friends. Doing my life with friends. Doing my life with friends. And I'm loving life with friends.
Hi everyone, welcome to the first episode of Love&Life. Woo!
I don't know why I did that. That was so
No, I love
awkward,
it. I
sorry.
love the little dance. I'm so excited. Today I have one of my closest friends, my sister, Valentina, here with me. Hi.
Hey guys.
Yes, it's so great to have her here with me as we begin to delve into conversations about love, about life, about friendship, about community. Obviously, that's what we're all about here. And friendship is something that we know can make such a big difference to the quality of our lives, can make a difference in how far we go in life. I remember hearing a quote some time ago that you are the average of the 5 closest people you spend time with.
Yeah.
And that just says a lot. It just goes to show how much your friendships can really impact on the quality of your life. So yeah, today we're going to be talking about friendships in general, breaking it down. So why are these conversations important? Like, why is friendship even this important that we are having these conversations around it? So yeah, Val, when you think about friendship, what is friendship to you? What does friendship mean to you?
Okay, so before we started recording and we were talking about, okay, we got to break it down, friendship 101. Like, what is it? As we do, I went to Google to find a definition. Interestingly, everybody just kept on. Well, everything that kept on coming up to start off with was all about Facebook friends, like all the different types of friends. And I was like, I just want to know what friendship is. Like, where's the definition for that? Then I came across the Britannica website and I came across this definition, which for me, like really resonated with what I think and what I believe friendship is. So I'll read it out. And it says, friendship is a state of enduring affection, esteem, intimacy, and trust between two people. In all cultures, friendships are important relationships throughout a person's lifespan. Now, a reason why that really resonated with me is because I thought it just, ticked off all the terms that I would expect and want in a friendship. So there's affection. So like there's care for one another. It's enduring. So it's for a while. It's not temporary. There's esteem, so you think well of the other person. There's intimacy, so there's that trust, that loyalty, that vulnerability too. And that ultimately, no matter who you are, no matter where you're from, it's important. And as you go and you grow in life, you're always going to need friendships or always going to seek friendships or have friendships around you.
Right.
So that's how, like, just going off of this definition, that's what I would take friendship to mean and to be.
Right.
So yeah.
It's interesting because I think friendship these days, and it goes to show even when you Googled it, there's like a broad range of almost like definitions or like, and you know, even Facebook friends these days, you probably don't know them. You don't know what they're about. You don't know anything, but you're like, oh yeah, we're friends on Facebook.
On Google, that was part of like the definitions of like friend/friendship.
Right.
That a person who you've connected to on a social media platform.
Wow.
And I was like, it actually took me a while before I came across what I just read out, which just goes to show like the blurred lines.
It's super blurred, right? Because if to the extent that we are talking about friendship and the difference it can make in your life, it's something that we shouldn't be like blasé about it.
No.
But I think because of the way it's being defined, it becomes a thing where literally you meet somebody on the streets and like next minute you're like, oh yeah, that's my friend. But then when they start to ask you, okay, so like, what do they do? What do they believe? What do they, you're like, oh yeah.
Or what they like.
Or what do they even like? Like, you know, how old are they? Like what? It's like, I don't know, but they're my friend. Yeah. So yeah, I think it just goes to show like these days how sometimes there's a lack of intentionality that's attached. It's just kind of people become friends like by default and there's no thought to it. Now, am I saying that there's no room for like more casual friendships and that kind of vibe, like, or acquaintances, almost more like, of course not. I think we need that as well. We need that bigger space. But I think as it comes to our closer friends that tend to like speak over us, speak to us, pour into us, that we have a lot of exchange with, I think we have to start becoming more intentional about who falls into this bucket. So for you, for instance, how do you begin to clarify that? How does that, like, who is an acquaintance and who is a friend in your life? Like, how do you start to make that difference in terms of the more intentional level of friendship of the people that then become, if you like, your like core circle or your closer friends?
So me and friendship have had an interesting journey, I would say, in my life. I think I've had seasons where I felt like, oh, I have so many friends, and then had seasons where I felt like I don't really have many friends. I maybe have like a handful. But what I will say was a very like poignant time in my life when I think started to understand how I wanted to do friendship or manage friendship was off the back of a series run by Darius Daniels, which I think you remember. And it was, I forgot what it was called, but I always remember it was about friendships. And I think he also has
relational intelligence. Was it around?
So it was around relational intelligence, and he did a whole talk about friendships. Darius Daniels, if you haven't heard him speak,
absolutely recommend.
Great minister, American guy.
We love Uncle D.
Uncle Darius. That's what we call him.
Darius is great.
And he was talking about, first and foremost, he went to scripture. So he used Jesus and his relationship with his friends, like the 12, and then his close 3, to model and explain how we can use that model to do friendship. And what was beautiful about that is that in each of the different disciples, there's different characters. Like some of them are really, brass and violent and like intense. Some of them are just always want to be around Jesus. So you got like the Johns. Yeah. Some of them are a bit like...
John was a cutie, wasn't he? Like, I don't know, it just gives me like cutie vibes, right? Yeah.
Some of them are like, we're not down for the Romans, but we're going to do what we need to, Jesus. Like, it's just different types of people. And also some of them were zealots. And when you look up what a zealot was, that was a terrorist basically of that time.
Honestly, yeah. 2
of them are fishermen, so they're just out here trying to, earn a buck and make a living and go about their business. Do you get what I mean?
And then you have the tax collector.
And then you have a tax collector, so he's good with money, but he's a bit too good with money, not in the good sense. But he managed to find a way to create a friendship space, first and foremost for all 12 of them. But then he also, out of that 12, had 3 who he brought close. And he brought them close, I think, for specific reasons. I think he had specific purpose in those relationships, which is why they were part of his close 3. But in the same way, he still had purpose for the other 12 and even the wider friendship and community he was a part of. Yeah. But what that series taught me was that I can't treat a friend like an acquaintance, and I can't treat an acquaintance like a friend.
Right.
And it's really important to set the levels so that, one, I can love everyone in the way they need to be loved. And also I can expect love in the right way I expect to be loved as well. So if I have a Peter, I can't love them like a Thomas, because I won't get back what I need from a Peter.
Right.
And that's the lessons I've learned with friends and acquaintances, is that if you're my friend, my expectancy of you grows. And a lot of that happens is usually based on the amount of time we've either spent together or the things we've been through with one another, the connection we have, whether it's off of a hobby, but usually that then grows into like more of a, either intellectual connection or mental or spiritual or emotional. And that's how I would frame it. But then acquaintance is not someone I love less, but maybe someone I love differently and also don't prioritize as much. And again, it's not to say I don't love them, because if we're going back to the second greatest commandment of all, which is love your neighbor as you love yourself, still have that love for them. But I just know I don't prioritize them or place them in the same place as a friend. Yeah. And at first I found that really hard. But what I've realized is that as a person, there's only so much capacity I have to hold and love and take care and prioritize people. When I speak to people who are married and have children, it's kind of like a natural given that they'll say, my husband comes first, or my wife comes first, or my child comes first, so on and so forth, or my siblings come first. But with friends, in an ideal world, we'd love everybody's able to, love everybody the same, and anytime you need help, Fola, I'm always going to be there for you. But if I did that, then you would be my only friend. One. But also it puts a lot of pressure on you, because then also my expectancy
is
then
extremely
grows
high.
in line with that.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you're a friend to me and you're an acquaintance to me, my expectations of you differ, but my love is just as strong. So I've always got love for both friends and acquaintances. Just the priorities and expectations differ, and that's how I place it personally.
Brilliant. And I think that's necessary, isn't it? Because like our time, our resources, it's all finite. So there has to be an element of intentionality as to where you deploy those things, because otherwise I think, first of all, you run the risk of spreading yourself thin, but as well, like you said, there then becomes that sort of conflict of expectation where you then have expectations that are not met, and then that becomes extremely frustrating as well. So I think it's very important.
Yeah, and also I'm not rigid. I also try not to be too rigid about either too. So an acquaintance can become a friend, and a friend can become an acquaintance. It's like it's fluid, and it needs to be fluid, I think, because seasons, like who you are today, you may not be in a year from now. If you move to another country, if you change jobs, if even another country, you move to a different location, if your setup changes and now you have dependents, or you get married, like there's so many different things, or you find that now your job requires you to travel a lot of the time. So where you used to, be able to go to church every Sunday, you can now only go to your church in person once a month because you're traveling for the rest of the time. And again, this is not intentional. It's just how life is. So in light of that, who was once an acquaintance may become actually a friend, because you're able to pull on them or pour into them, and they pour into you in the nuances of your new dynamic of life. And then vice versa as well. So it's also to say we shouldn't, I try to not be too rigid, but also learning that not to be too rigid, and also why it's so important to just have love for everyone. Because if you're having different love for different people, it's then, okay, how can you switch an acquaintance to a friend? Because they'll always just be an acquaintance. But if your love is just strong, as God tells us it should be, then everyone should get that love.
That's great. And I think, that openness is so important, right? Because actually, just similar to me, I think you've moved around quite a bit. So you've actually lived in quite a few different countries. And in doing that, it's like every time you move somewhere new, you have to have that open mind in order to like build your friendship group again. So if you don't have that, if you're kind of just rigid in that sense, then you actually run the risk of not being able to experience what could be in terms of maybe acquaintances becoming friends, or even like opening yourself up to like new friendships and all of that. But I think that's where the intentionality comes in, that when those people then come into your space, you start to like exercise the relational wisdom of literally paying attention, listening when you have conversations. And then that's when you start to understand, okay, are we on the same page? I think that happened for us. Like, we've been friends for how long now, Val?
Almost 10 years.
Oh yeah, coming up to 10 years. Happy friendiversary.
We love it.
But that's a good few long years. But I mean, there was a time when we didn't know each other, and then we met. And I think off the back of just spending more time together, or just even spending time in group spaces, just listening to you, I'm like, she sounds like the kind of person I'll be friends with. Like, she sounds you're welcome. Like, she sounds like my kind of person. And then over time, as we spent more time together, or as I saw you in different spaces, that was confirmed to me, like in seeing you, do things or like say things or like just the way you think and all of that. I'm like, I think that we're on the same page. So I guess that open mind is very important, and then listening and actually paying attention. And that's where the intentionality starts from. So it's not just like literally just collecting everybody and saying, this is my friend, my friend, but like
honestly, that message, if I remember the name, it might not come, but maybe it's just relational intelligence.
I think the series was relational intelligence, but I don't remember the actual.
The friendship talk. He just talks about just the wisdom it takes to place people in the right place in your life. And also it's humbling yourself to know that also you're placed in a certain position in other people's lives. Because I think sometimes as well in friendships, we can get, we grow to a point of entitlement that if I've been this familiar with this person, then I must always be placed in this certain position. So I have an expectancy, almost to the point of a demand that I must be treated this way. If I need help, they must help me. They must show up. But that's not what love is. love isn't entitled. When you look at like Corinthians 13, 1 Corinthians 13, it doesn't talk about love being entitled. Entitlement isn't in that description anywhere. It's talking about patience, kindness. So if that's the way we're meant to love, then again, that feeds into the wisdom and discernment of how you place and treat your friends. It's also knowing that they're not always going to have full capacity for you. That's why in the same way, I'm not always going to have full capacity for them. So sometimes they won't be able to show up, but I can be understanding enough and be like, oh, okay, I get it. This is a season.
Yeah.
But as long as they're overall in the longevity, you show me love, then what else is there?
Okay, no, great.
So,
we're getting into now the question about, so why is friendship important? Because obviously we've talked a lot about, what friendship is and kind of understanding those dynamics of who is your friend and, all of this stuff. But why is friendship actually important? So why is it important that we have these conversations? Like what does friendship do? What does it add to our lives? Why should we care about, who our friends are?
Well, we were made for community. That's the basis of it. Like, I know we always go to the romantic sense of it, but when God said it's not good for man to be alone, I think it was much broader than just the point of reproduction. I don't think he only made Eve for Adam just so that they could just, be romantically involved and then have children. But they shouldn't like each other. They shouldn't talk to each other. They shouldn't commune with each other. And even if you go back before that, when you read Genesis 1, God is speaking as we. So it's Father God, it's Holy Spirit, it's Jesus. So they're speaking as family. So our whole entity is built around and from a creator who is of family, who is of communion, of people being together. And then even before Eve, if we even go before that, it was Adam and God. That was chilling. He was talking to Adam. He's like, Adam, so you can name this one, you can name that animal. Yeah, me and Adam is cool. But he still was like, no, like, not even that God isn't enough for Adam, but God still saw that it would be even better if Adam had someone else in physical form there and present to be a helper to him. Right. So I think if we go even to the very initial basis of things, we are made for community, we're made for communion. So not having friends, not having someone in your life in some shape or form is doing a disservice, one, to our creator, but also to how we were made to be. We were made for community. Yeah. So friendship, like, that's why we need it. If we're going really back to basics. And also to just learn and be better people. Without each other, how do we learn? Without each other, how do we grow? Without each other, how do we receive the things that we need, whether it's comfort? We always need help. No one can do this life without help at some point in one shape or another. So yeah, all the way back to the basics of that's how God made it and intended it.
Absolutely. And on the companionship point, it's so important. I think I say this a lot, that there's such a focus and an emphasis on like the finding love, like the romantic kind of love, that particular kind of love. But however, there is like friendship love that's so important and actually teaches you a lot of these skills, whether it's conversation, whether it's like vulnerability, teaches you a lot of what you need to know to actually be able to thrive in the context of other kinds of love. So I think that companionship element is so key. And I guess that's where it comes to like being a present friend, like being there as much as you can. Because it just, whether it's as simple as just having a sounding board, like, as we do all the time. It's like, sis, I have this idea. Can I run it by you quickly? Actually, no, we don't even ask, can I run it by you? It's just like, sis, I have this idea. This is the idea. Like, what do you think about it, right? Or even if it's a little rant, or it's like, oh, I'm so upset about this thing. A little cry or whatever. Imagine not having that. And this is why I'm really passionate that people are able to experience that love of community. Because like, we're just not meant to do life alone. Like, no man is an island and all of that stuff that they say. And
we're not made to. The weight of things. Imagine having to carry the burden of some of the struggles of life completely
alone
on your own.
Yeah.
We're just not made that way.
No, it's a lot.
We're not
life
made that way.
Adulting is a lot.
Yeah, adulting especially when, you've got responsibilities. You've got outward responsibilities and dependence on you as well, and you're still growing as a person. Doing it on your own is incredibly intense and incredibly hard. And first and foremost, we have God, and God then blesses us with the gift of people, of friends, of family, of community. Why would we deny ourselves a gift that God is freely giving us?
Yeah. And on that point, I think with companionship again, friendship holds up a mirror to you because it's hard to see yourself in a vacuum. You can't really see yourself like in its entirety. So friendship holds up a mirror where you get to actually almost see yourself through the eyes of others. Almost like sometimes see your imperfections. Yeah. Because somebody said, I don't remember where I heard this from, but it's like friends are the family you choose. You don't get to choose your family. You're just like born into your family. But with friends, there's that element of choice. And in doing life with those friends, you actually then get to see, and they also get to see your imperfections. And sometimes it's hard because you're like, and it starts to teach you humility. It starts to teach you that you're not perfect. You actually learn to apologize because that's an issue. For people sometimes just, being able to be like, oh, okay, actually that was my mistake. I'm really sorry. And you just, it starts to make you a better person. And this is why it's so important who your friends are, right? Because if you literally start to mirror them, because if they don't hold you up to that higher standard and that's why I just love so many of my friends that I'm blessed with, that they would tell you the truth. They would tell you about yourself.
It's like it says, Proverbs 27:17, as iron sharpens iron,
that's right,
a friend sharpens a friend. And that's the kind of friendships we should be, and by God's grace do have. Like a friend who is always challenging you to be better. And sometimes the challenge doesn't have to be, a hard or frictional one, like the iron sharpening iron. But even sometimes in love, like that is still helping mold you to be a better person holistically. So exactly like you said, it's someone to help mirror you and help improve your self-awareness as well, because as much as we all want to be self-aware, a lot of us aren't naturally self-aware. So we need those sounding boards, those people who will say, whenever this happens, you act this way. And then you could be like, oh, I didn't know. Oh, okay, well, thanks for letting me know. Maybe that's something for me to work on, especially if it isn't a good thing. If it's just like you always tap your head when you're thinking, then that's fine. I'm not gonna.
Like one of my friends, she always slaps me when she's laughing. She's like, ha ha ha. Please don't do that.
Yeah, but you know what I mean? But it helps with that, and that holistically helps us be better people. So
that's actually so true. It really does. And obviously on that accountability point as well, that is so key, because sometimes we struggle to hold ourselves accountable. Like one of my personal areas of struggle is like going to bed. I'm really bad. Like I'm a night owl. Like everybody knows this. So like I'm just telling my business now. But like sometimes when I know maybe I have a heavy week coming, like a busy week with work or something, and I know that I need to go to bed early, sometimes I'll say to you, if you see me online at 10 p.m, if I'm still replying your WhatsApp messages at 10 p.m, tell me to go to bed. Like things like that. Or even I remember fairly recently I was supposed to have a tough conversation that I was shying away from having, and it was a tough conversation, right? And I was putting it off, and then I actually called you and I said, like, sis, please, this conversation needs to happen. Like, and you encouraged me in that
like,
direction.
It needs to happen. And then called you, like, did it happen then?
And then you actually checked in the follow-up to say, did you have the conversation? And actually, it wasn't long after you then had to have a tough conversation, which we're laughing about, because we're like, oh, how the tables have turned.
Honestly,
and then I was literally able to say to you, honestly, off the back of me having that conversation, this is like the fruit that's come out of it, and then encouraging you with that. So I think that's what it's all about, right? Just that accountability that helps you to be able to even do difficult things. And it's so important.
And we have to be open to giving room for that accountability as well, because that's another thing when it comes to friendship. We can talk about all these ways and practices of being good friends, but we have to give other people permission to hold us to account.
Right.
We have to give other people permission to call us out when we're not behaving in the right way. And of course, we would expect it to be done with love. But there needs to be honesty there. And there needs to be a freedom to be honest.
Right.
But be honest in love. So be kind rather than nice. Ooh. Nice is more, we're keeping it pleasant. Kind this is the truth of it. But I'm telling you this because I love you and I want you to be the best. And we have to make so much. I intentionally tell myself this, especially in my friendships. Well, in all my relationships, is I have a responsibility to be kind to anybody who I call a friend, even an acquaintance. Funnily enough, even at my workplace, like kindness is like one of our key foundational words in the business we do. It's that we work to be kind. When we're working with clients, we aim to be kind to them. So to be honest about what we can see they need and support them in the best way possible. And if I can do that with like a client, then how can I not do that with a friend or even family, someone who I consider so close to me, my community?
Yeah.
So we've got to give room for it. We've got to give room to receive kindness, one. So to be, whether that's positive or negative, and also be bold enough to also give it out as well.
Right.
So to call people out as well when they fall short, or just as small as they've hurt you.
Yeah.
And not be shy about that.
Absolutely. And I think with that, if you do it in the way that you would want to receive it, it's a really good benchmark for, am I being kind in this sense? Because if you think, just be kind, like
Be kind.
Be kind, right?
Be kind.
And I think I love that thing about being kind enough to tell the truth, because it's a kindness, it's a mercy, when you have friends that can tell you the truth, because I can't be the only one that, sees people on like talent shows and they've come to sing and they can't sing, or they've come to do stand-up comedy and they're not funny. And it's like, did none of your friends, nobody told you that you're not funny?
But the thing is that you never know in those cases. A friend might have told them, bro, you can't sing. And then he was just like, no, like, this is my calling, I know. But this is what I mean. Do you give permission? After you give permission, are you going to actually listen and go back and self-reflect on what's
so true? Like, are you because it's true. Because as well, if I tell you something once, tell you twice, if you're not listening to me, okay then, so like that listening element is important. And I think the point on accountability, one of my favorite stories is actually one in the Bible, and it's about David and Prophet Nathan. Like, I think when you think friendship, you always think David and Jonathan, but actually the dynamic, I think, between David and Nathan the prophet was one that I really, really learned a lot from, because obviously he's his prophet, he's his trusted advisor. So I would go as far as stretching and saying maybe there was a friendship there, right? Yeah. And David goes and just does a madness, like
go read Samuel. The books of Samuel, and you'll see the madness.
Yes.
Well, maybe you'll share what the madness. Little bit of the madness.
Read Samuel anyway. It's a great book. Like anyway, read your Bible anyway. But yeah, so David goes off and commits adultery with somebody's wife, and then kills the guy to
cover up.
It's just bad. And he's king, so he can kind of get away with it. Like he's king, like who's gonna check him, right? And Prophet Nathan comes to him and tells him this story. I love the way he sets it up. He says, there was this really rich man with lots of sheep and lots of animals and stuff, and then there's this poor man with one beloved sheep that he loves. And the rich man had a guest, and rather than use one of his own sheep to kill and host the guest, right? He goes to get the poor man's one beloved sheep and kills that one to host his guest. And David gets angry, like he's so irate, like how dare this person show me this person? I'm gonna deal with them. And then Prophet Nathan just goes, it's you, like you're the man. And I think that is so powerful because it just shows the ability of the prophet to be able to come and say, like, it's you, like it's that accountability of being able to just say to our friends, you're wrong.
And what's even more beautiful in that story, there's like more elements to it, is even after Nathan told him that, his response was repentance. Right. His response wasn't, anyway, I'm the king, I can do what I want, or all the excuses all the excuses he could have possibly come up with to say, oh, well, this happened and this happened, that's why I was this way, and so on. But no, he gave him room. But also another element is David had a significant amount of trust in what Nathan would do and say and teach. So it gave Nathan the room to even be as outspoken to David, both as a prophet of the Lord, but also calling out his behavior.
Wow.
So
there's honestly so much to unpack and so many gems. And because of that, we would have to continue this conversation in episode 2. So we will see you guys later.
Bye.
Thank you for watching. We hope to see you next time. Do remember to like, subscribe, and share this video with a friend. See you.